Hi, this is Infinity, and I'm going to show you today how to make wings for your costume out of corrugated cardboard. Corrugated plastic, I'm sorry. This is the box that my corrugated plastic came in. I got it off of eBay. The sheets were 24 by 24. This is what's left over. I obviously already cut the wings out, but these are the sheets. I ordered, I guess, 4 of these sheets, so I'm making 4 wings. For the DragonFly, or you could use them for whatever kind of wing you need. While you're waiting for that to arrive, you might want to make size out a pattern that you're waiting for the maximum size wings that you want. So these were I call them my prototype wings. They're made out of cardboard, you know, from a TV set box. And these sizes, just so that you know, so this is for the DragonFly. Each wing is 9 inches across maximum and 40 inches in length maximum. So I am 5'3", so you can't make it any. I didn't want them to go that long because the top one would be here, the lower one would be here, and you don't want to step on it. 9 inches across, so when they're out this way, when they're side by side in the down position, you wind up with 18 inches across. Obviously, if you're a man, you could make that wider. If you're making it for a child, you would have to make them obviously much more narrower and shorter. So you want to start by a pattern. So here's my pattern. So if you can see this, the outer lines represent the maximum area that I can draw the wing. And I drew a wing for the upper DragonFly wing and the lower DragonFly wing. And just make the shape that you want using, you know, a picture off the internet, making sure it doesn't go outside your maximum area. And then I also drew in the veins. This is just a pattern. So once you have the pattern laid out, you want to lay down 2 sheets. Now they're only 24 inches, so I had to lay down 2 of them side by side, which temporarily were just held together with blue tape. And I traced with using this, it's called a China marker, also known as a grease pencil. Because this is rather transparent, so when you lay it on top of your pattern, you can see the pattern through it. And then you do it again, so you would do it once and then do it again for the opposing side. This was already cut out. I'm going to tell you right now, it's not easy to cut. I used this box cutter, I used this box cutter. It's not that easy to cut. It's easy to cut along the grain, not so much against the grain. You want the grain to be lengthwise. Now let me show you how I connected the 2 pieces together, because they're 40 inches long, but each piece was only 24 inches wide. So once everything was cut out, I want to create an internal skeleton. So I took, you know, not chopsticks, barbecue skewers that you use for the barbecue, and then I painted them white, just whatever kind of white paint is in the house. I use this cheap craft stuff. And then once they were painted white, as you can see here, I put glue in here and I glued them into one side. So this particular wing is in process. So my next step, which I'm not going to do on camera because who wants to watch glue dry, so I'm going to put glue now on these 2 sticks, down this edge, down that edge, and then insert it, and it might take more than one try to get it lined up properly, but you insert it, and if you lined it up properly, in this case I did not, so I would have to try a second go, but if you line them up properly, then you'll wind up with this. And the white stick is hardly noticeable, and when you draw the veins on, that's going to be completely obscured. You're not going to see the white sticks. It's hardly noticeable. In addition to that, where the seam is, I don't know if I did it on this one yet, I'm going to add a little bit of an external brace. And for the external brace, I took a bunch of toothpicks and I painted the toothpicks white and then I'm putting a little white toothpick over that seam, gluing that on, and over that seam, gluing that on. So for the DragonFly, you have to do this whole thing 4 times over. If it's just an angel wing or something like that, it just might be the 2 wings. So that's step 1, and let me finish this up off camera. Hey, so we're back, and all 4 wings have been cut out, and they've all been painted. So I don't know if this is going to show up on camera, but in the sunlight, you get that, I guess it's called a pearlescent glow. You don't want to just leave this bare. So this is how I got the finish, which I have no idea if this is going to show up on camera. This is called Pearl X pigment powder, and you could buy it in a variety of colors, and you add it to clear paint. So this is Pearl X. It's called Interference Green, and then the paint is called, the brand is Golden Gloss Medium, written in 3 languages. So this is just basically clear paint. And when you mix it, you only need a little bit of this. So if you have like a little bowl of this stuff poured out, maybe have a teaspoon of this, and you can experiment. So the more of this that you use, the more opalescent it's going to come out. So you're going to paint it on both sides, on all 4, and then when you're done with that, you're going to draw in the veins, which so far I've only drawn in the veins on one side of one set. This is actually going to look like that. That's the upper and the lower. And these veins are actually like elevated. They're like 3-dimensional. So this is the product I use to paint the veins on. So it's by the Tulip Company, Slick. I can't read what it says. Hopefully that'll appear on camera. Tulip Slick Dimensional Fabric Paint in black. And they also have it in a black glitter. So I'm going to continue painting the other side of these, because you want to hit them on both sides. I'm going to do the other set. And then the next step is doing the outline, and I'll be right back for that. Okay, so we're ready to add the edges now to the wings. So I'll demonstrate for you on this wing. Here's what they look like with the edges already on them. So these wings have all been wrapped, and so this is going to be your finished product. They've been painted, the veins painted on, and the black cording around the edges. Before I get to that, I want to mention something about the painting. So this one hasn't had the edging put on yet. When you're painting it with the clear paint, you might have a problem with it not sticking to the plastic. If you encounter that problem, you could try wiping the plastic down with white wine vinegar on a paper towel, and then wiping it again with plain water. That doesn't help. You could try very fine grit sandpaper, like sandpaper that's like hardly not even sandpaper at all, just to rough it up a little better. I kind of went through that experience the hard way, so you might want to try that unless you find a paint that will stick to plastic. Otherwise, you could try the vinegar or the sandpaper or both. All right, so as you can see, these wings now look a lot better with the edges put on them. And what this edge is this. So this is paracord, short for parachute cord. I'm sure it's not regulation. This was just bought from, I think just from eBay, but they have this at Michael's Crafts or any crafting store. Black paracord, and it just works out that the width of the black paracord is the exact width of the corrugated plastic. It's literally the same exact width, and that's why I chose this. I looked around for a lot of different fabric trims, and none of them worked out as well. So I'm going to use hot glue. Now you might want to try using regular glue, but then you're going to have to do it in sections and sections and wait until it dries. If you have the time to do that, that's actually probably safer, because then you don't have to worry about burning your fingers. But if you are using hot glue, you are going to have to use gloves, because you're going to be literally handling the cord and the glue. And when we're setting the cord, so we have to set the cord on this. Well, I'll show you. You don't want to use paper towel because paper towel is just going to stick to the hot glue. Also, paracord, it bleeds, like the threads pull out very easily. So anytime you cut the paracord, just dip it in glue. You could either, squeeze hot glue at the end or dip it in a little bit of regular white glue just to keep it, because otherwise it'll just keep fraying all the time, the paracord. So I'm encompassing this whole thing with the black cord, and you only have to do it once because it covers both sides simultaneously. I'm not going to do the very, very top of the wing where the two wings touch, but every other spot. So we're going to get the hot glue and in here, and you have to use a little more than usual because it's literally falling into a crevice. So you got to get it in there. Get it in there good. And you got to do it in sections. If the section is too big, the glue will dry up before you have a chance to put the cord in. All right, so now we get the cord in. Let's see if we could do this. We get the cord in. You want to pull it. So this is about, I'm doing like 4 to 6 inch sections at a time. Once you get the cord in, you got to kind of push it on. And what I'm holding here is wax paper. So fortunately, the wax paper does not stick to the glue. So this is the regular wax paper that you buy in the supermarket for cooking and for food wrapping purposes. Just any brand will do. And that's it. So you could squeeze it on with the gloves. Like, these are gardening gloves, and I suggest using a pair of old gardening gloves that you are like going to throw away because you're going to want to throw them away after this job. They will stick to the gloves. So, but this wax paper I used on the other 3 wings that I already glued, and it's the same piece of wax paper. So that's on there good. And then once that's dry, you move on to your next section, just about 4 to 6 inches at a time. I'll do one more section. Okay, so that was about a 4-inch section. We're going to pull this taut, get that seated in the crevice, and then you're kind of going to like burnish it on, so to speak, with the wax paper, because you have to press. If you don't press, it might not touch and it might not stay. All right, I'm going to finish this up off camera. Okay, so here's the final product as you saw in the beginning of the video. Here they are in the down position. So now let me show you how I attached the wings to the harness. And the harness, the video for the harness is a separate video of how this is made. So that's already up, so you can find that video. And the tail of the DragonFly is going to be attached down here. And if you subscribe and hit like, and especially subscribe, you will get the video of how to attach the tail to the harness. And this will all be one piece, but it'll be removable with Velcro. So please like and subscribe. And for now, let me show you how to attach the wings to the harness. All right, so here's the wings when they're in the down position. And the way to attach the wings is you want to attach the wings in the up position. So lay your harness down on the table. So make sure you have the whole harness in the shot. Lay the harness down on the table, and then you want to mark holes so that the wings are touching each other over here, but not overlapping. Same thing, touching each other but not overlapping. These got stretched out a little bit. And then mark the holes. Okay, so for the making the holes, I don't know if we went over this, making the holes through this is fairly simple. You can use an ice pick to make the holes in the corrugated plastic, or I used this little miniature hand drill. That was easy. Or you can really use anything. I even used some bead reamers to make the holes through the corrugated plastic. The holes in the Arizona iced tea thing has to be made with an actual power drill. At least it did for me. And then I riveted them on. So these are the rivets that I used. These are just typical rivets that I bought on eBay. If you could get a close-up of what the rivets look like. Yep. Okay, you could step back up again. So here's the step back up again. Yeah, so here's the rivets. Okay, these are double barrel rivets, but you can use any kind of rivet. And I don't know if you could see this, but this is a plastic washer that I made just out of the plastic sheeting that you use for disposable cutting boards. I made a little washer here because when you hammer in the rivet, it might crack. It won't crack it. It might dent the corrugated plastic. So I made these plastic washers to put here under the rivet, between the rivet and the corrugated plastic. So now, to pull them up over here, if you could angle the camera all the way over here, this is fishing wire, and I use this as a handle. See, I marked the blue tape of where to put it. And then there's fishing wire here to hold the two wings together, and then they'll fold down like this. So I have to cut off the excess. Yeah, so there's a hole here and a hole here, and then that bends down, and then the hole over here. You just mark it wherever you want the handle to be. You can make the handle out of anything. I just use fishing wire because it's more invisible. But I do recommend craft wire or fishing wire to hold the two wings together. That way you can't see the string. I'll show you the actual fishing wire that I used. This is just something cheap with Chinese writing that I bought off eBay. Craft wire is cheaper than buying the actual fisherman stuff. Here's an idea of what the holes look like. They're very close to the top of the harness for the top, and then the holes for the second set of wings are all the way down here. Okay, so as long as they are in this position, and before you commit to drilling the holes, you want to test them to make sure that they rotate downly really nice, so that they rotate down like this. Okay, so that's it for the wings attached to the harness. And as I said, subscribe so you can see the video of how to make the tail.